Welcome everybody to Building Killer Goalkeepers. Here's my story. So I'm here to share my learning, insights and deep authenticity. I'm really crossing the bridge of vulnerability here. But before I do that, firstly, let me tell you some of my background. I'm a performance coach, head of performance. I've worked across multiple Olympic sports, as well as supporting professional clubs, associations, federations, right through to members of the public. Most of my coaching experiences within football, recently in the professional men's game in the Allsvenskan in Sweden, and then in women's football for a short time. So I've taken my armor off. I've established new boundaries, leading with courage, bravery, and lots of heart here. So if you're watching and listening, thank you for joining me. I really like learning and exploring new areas. However, I am not a goalkeeping coach. This is a highly specialized position. But all throughout my football coaching career, I've worked with goalkeepers and coached goalkeepers. This has increased more recently within Swedish football, and I've really enjoyed it. So my performance roles in Sweden include goalkeeper development for young goalkeepers and goalkeeper professional rehabilitation on the pitch and in the gym, as well as, of course, the performance end. And it's been a necessity to learn this position to really inform my practice. The other reason is due to a goalkeeper coach shortage. I've stepped in to coach and support goalkeepers on the pitch, and also as well with the senior goalkeepers put sessions together. And they've also shared their excellent knowledge with me and their skills. I'm technically minded, so when it comes to coaching and goalkeeper coaching, which of course is a really technical position, I've really been comfortable being uncomfortable. So why have I called it Killer Goalkeepers? Well, I'm going to recall a story from the professional men's game in the Allsvenskan. So back in the day, goalkeepers would send a message out to the opposition early doors in a game by physically putting in a really hard challenge or actually just taking the player out. They would send a message to the opposition that if they came into the 18-yard box, they would expect an absolute battle. So you'd intimidate opponents earlier on, and this would mean instead of shots coming in at close range or in the final third, these would more likely to be from distance, giving goalkeepers a better chance of making a save and keeping a clean sheet. So this would also push play higher up the pitch into the opposition half. Opponents are on the defensive. Goalkeepers are sending a message out that they're in charge. They are commanding their areas, they're establishing their presence, they're dominating from when the whistle blows. And this means that also you're sending out that you're going to be absolutely ruthless. So I'm not encouraging at all goalkeepers to foul opponents, no, not whatsoever. So, but we had a great presentation from the Swedish Refereeing Association in regards to what to expect in the season. And yes, it's very, very physical. But what I do like and how I build players and goalkeepers is I want them really fast and explosive. I like that type of football. I like the intensity. I like the speed, the skill and the power. And regardless of whatever your level or ability, I'm going to create and improve those skills. So I've had a background coaching and supporting fighting sports. So as a boxing technical coach, supported judo, fencing, taekwondo, bit of wrestling, and of course I can cross all of these and take these ideas and put them into goalkeeping to make them relevant. And then this, of course, leads on to the bottom left, which is individual movement strategies. And if that intensity and aggression comes the other way from the opposition, then a goalkeeper must be able to perform if any of these foundations here get removed. So the foundation is the baseline strength. So we start from the ground upwards. So feet, knee, hip, pelvic control, the trunk. So pitch-based scenarios may remove certain elements of the foundation. However, a goalkeeper must be able to perform with a remaining capacity. And of course, building and maintaining capacity will mean goalkeepers can cope training and matches day in, day out, week in, week out, without breaking down or modifying training. And then, of course, we have to take into account reducing fatigue and uncertainty. So player injury risk, and of course, previous injury and reoccurrence is the top one. And yeah, we've got to ensure goalkeepers can be formed. So we build from the ground up. This is Lamanzar, who's now at Torrens IF. We start with the feet here. And these are some of the physical components that we need to build goalkeepers with. And if we build from the ground up, feet are the first point of contact with the ground, and footwork is critical for goalkeepers. So having the ability to self-organize limbs for explosive movement is really, really important. If we go up to the top right, so dives are sequential. It starts with a hip, knee, and then ankle. So we need strong legs and hips and ankle, and of course upper body strength. And then if we go over to the left-hand side, we have the ipsilateral leg and the contralateral leg. Ipsilateral is when diving and pushing off on the same side of the dive. The contralateral is pushing off to the opposite movement direction of the goalkeeper. And then if we just head down to the bottom, programs are going to be individualized. They have to be flexible and agile. So it's best to view them as just as guides. So they're not written in blood, and this will help increase success and mastery. And then we can track, monitor, and review. So by reviewing progress, we can make timely adjustments to training strategy. Okay, so here we have on the left, I've just embedded it into Google Sheets, just a snapshot of some exercises that I use to build programs. And each physical component and muscle group have different levels, different areas of focus and progressions. So if I just scroll along here, so seated exercise if you're rehabbing. And then we have finger, hand, and forearm strength. So this is really, really critical. And in the winter time in Sweden, it is very, very cold. So for goalkeepers to get their fingers, hands, and warm in cold is a real challenge. We've had -12 over months, in the winter, and the footballs become like stones, and everything freezes. So this is really important, and also as well for rehabilitation. This has got to be an aspect that isn't left out. Then we have calves, different levels. I can just scroll along. Different movement patterns which have a different focus. We've got the quads, hamstrings, groin, which is your third hamstring. Glutes, hips and pelvis, iliopsoas and abdominals, bit of that upper body, shoulders. This, I'm just going to click on this. So this is a really good resource. This is shoulder rehabilitation, but you can just insert these into into normal goalkeeper programs. And if I go up to, I'm going to go up to 149 because I have used this. It's really good. So we can have this, which is a type of overspeed work. So your feet are against the wall and you can be pushing off. And that's really good for midsection abdominal control, lapose control, balance. And if I go back to 142, this exercise here, so stepping back and then opening up, that's a really good challenge as well for balance. And then you can use heavier dumbbells. So I'll just go back to here. And then these are just some of the physical qualities that a goalkeeper requires, from the physical right through to the psychological. These are just some infographics here. So goalkeepers basically need to target building high levels of eccentric strength. And we can do that in the pre-season as well as building strong hamstrings. And players who can regulate their speed according to deceleration loads that they can tolerate means they have good braking strength. And braking comprises kind of like the highest magnitude or mechanical load per meter, and it can be up to 65% greater than going forwards or accelerating. So for GPS reports, I tend to put deceleration first, along my list of metrics rather than acceleration, just to show the emphasis. And for goalkeepers, this is short decelerations, breaking in the box to get into those set positions, those second set positions. So goalkeepers with higher levels of strength are going to be able to stop easier. They're also going to be able to land better from jumps and dives. They're also going to be able to break for change of direction. And there's quite a lot of work from Damien Harper on deceleration. Lots of work on Dallin et al. And Bloomfield et al. 2016. There's papers on that as well regarding breaking, and you can go to my Twitter account and have, find that. Okay, and then on the bottom right hand side, alongside the physical qualities, it's doing the fundamentals and doing the basics to the highest level really, really well. That's going to be an absolute career constant for growth, success and mastery for goalkeepers. Okay, so this is muscle forces for kicking, and I'm just going to go through swing limb loading. So there's just some kicking here in this video. These are just side volleys, and I think they progress to some high kicking. So the hip flexors are dominant during the majority of the swing to the ball. So the movement is concentric, so it shortens as the leg swings towards the ball, inflection there. So the knee extensors and largely the quads, the thigh muscles are dominant during that backswing, which you can see just here in the, with the goalkeeper in the yellow. And the hip flexor shortens that moment of force, and hip flexors and the quads then lengthen to contract to decelerate and then decelerate the leg. So the energy through this contraction is then held in the muscle. So you can see that here with Ola from Målvakter. And then it's before being released. And the hip flexors are comprised of primarily the iliac and the psoas muscles, and therefore it's really important to include this in goalkeeper training. And so the upper body twists during the preparation phase of the kick, so we get this hip disassociation, this pelvic disassociation for the preparation phase of the kick, and then it unwinds during execution. So the retraction of the kicking leg on a non-kicking sidearm leads to a rotation of the torso, and we get just a bit of a separation angle here. If I scroll down to the bottom, we've got some infographics, and I'm just going to go through these. So the quad muscles are really important for goalkeepers. So the quads are stimulated by the femoral nerve. So if you go to the second infographic along, which is here, and the femoral nerve consists of motor units, and they'll stimulate all the quad muscles, all four heads. So it's not possible to isolate the quad muscle. So they all work together and not in isolation. And there's an article by Caronello on Simply Faster in 2020 on this. And so the iliac and the psoas, really important, as I've talked about, for speed and power, and it's really critical for powerful kicking. For outfield, we have to train this to get them up and down the pitch, for sprinting and for high-speed running. And we can also check the timing of these muscles by using a simple screening test. So if you stick your thumbs in at the top of your hip bones and push in either side, and then you ask the goalkeeper to push their belly out or their sides out, so that your fingers should move, your thumbs should move outwards. And then you can do the same with pushing your fingers into the front of the belly, and then you push your fingers out by pushing your belly out. So it's like filling a balloon, and then you stuck your thumbs in around the back, either side of your spine. And if one side goes up quicker, then there's a muscle timing issue or an imbalance. So I always get goalkeepers to do this on myself to begin with, and so they can know what they're feeling for and what they're looking for. And because muscles with mistiming or an imbalance can create overwork or can mean energy leaks and reduce efficiency, and of course it can increase injury risk, and this may affect speed, strength and power. So some imbalances can actually make players really, really good. And if they don't cause issues, then that's fine. But for goalkeepers, balance is really, really important. So having both sides really balanced is going to be critical. Okay, so I'm going to go through tension arc training. So I'm just going to play this video here. So this is a tension arc training exercise. And basically it's opposite arm and leg. So it's a single leg strength balance. And then bringing the dumbbell towards the opposite foot. So this basically is a tension arc that goes across your body from the kicking leg. And this type of work needs to be included. So the dumbbell, you can increase the weight at the top. This is on a cable pulling machine and the weight can be increased at the max. So it's really important that the foot is clamped down, that you're not gripping with your toes, that the foot is relaxed, but it's flat on the floor. So this is hip power. This is working the iliopsoas. It's a single leg strength balance. And we need to use that, what we call that dynamic stabilization breathing. That screening test that I've just explained by pushing the belly out front, sides and back, because that's going to help with stability. And so this is an exercise that I give my goalkeepers what they do. And then flexibility is really important. So flexibility of the hip and knee is critical. So tightness or mobility is an injury risk factor, particularly for rectus femoris injuries, quad injuries, and a restricted psoas may irritate the femoral nerve and cause tension further on down. And so this will restrict hip extension needed for sprinting and kicking. And of course, it can overload the muscle and it can increase fatigue. So this is really important that we have good quad strength, but also as well with that we keep the flexibility in there. Okay, so that is just a little bit of introduction before we go on to the next video, which is going to be the biomechanics of a diving save.